In August 1908, Hine landed a steady job. A national committee fighting child labor offered him $100 a month for photographs and investigative reporting. For the next 10 years, Hine would be part of the crusade against what many reformers saw as America's greatest shame. Initially, few had questioned the use of child labor in factory and mill, but the conviction had grown that a child's development could be thwarted and his potential wasted by confinement in factories under the relentless discipline of the machine, and the old practices came to seem not only inefficient, but barbaric. Leaving his family, Hine went south to document child labor in the textile mills. Mill owners would not welcome him. Child labor investigators had been harassed, jailed, run out of town. In the mills, Hine would find the children of landless sharecroppers and tenant farmers, people with no choice but to abandon a rural way of life that could no longer support them.
January 1909 to the National Child Labor Committee. The photographs I obtained in Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee will tell their own story to any fair mind. Augusta. Entrance to the mills extremely difficult. The man in charge refused absolutely to let me through, even as a visitor. So I waited, close outside the main door, concealed in the darkness of the woods. And at 6 p.m., I counted about 35 boys who appeared to be from 9 to 14 years of age. I stopped them and took them around the corner for a flash powder photo. Some of the smallest boys said they'd been working in the mill for several years. Macon. In the bib mill number 1, there were dozens of youngsters, some so small they reached their work only by climbing up onto spinning frames. In Tifton, there's a cotton mill employing 125 hands. I obtained several photos of the entire force at noon. This is the largest proportion of youngsters I've ever seen in a cotton mill. Everyone in the photograph works in the mill, except for the boy with the football. He is the superintendent's son.
He was a master at getting into different places, mines, mills, and so on, with one excuse or another. When he went into a mill to photograph child labor, he didn't say that was his purpose. He said he was going to photograph machinery or something of that kind. He'd go in and he'd set his camera up in front of a loom. And then he'd take his time, the foreman would lose interest. He'd get a little child to stand up next to the loom. And he'd have the buttons on his vest measured so that when a child stood next to him, he'd know how tall he was. And then he had a paper and pencil in his pocket so that he could jot down important information as to how long the kid was there, how many hours he worked.
Whitnall, North Carolina. Jenny is 51 inches high and has been working in the mill 1 year. When I asked her how old she was, she hesitated and then said confidentially, "I'm not old enough to work, but I do just the same." In Fayetteville, Tennessee, I found Leo, 8 years old, picking up bobbins at 15 cents a day. "No, I don't help sister or mother," he said, "just myself." In the Sanders spinning mill in Bessemer City, North Carolina, 12-year-old Giles Newsom fell into a spinning machine, and the unprotected gearing tore out 2 of his fingers. "We don't have any accidents in this mill," the overseer told me. "Once in a while a finger is mashed or a foot, but it don't amount to anything."
Their jobs, those little ones, was strictly forced to go. They had to be at work on time through rain and sleet and snow. Many times when things went wrong, their bosses often frowned. Many times those little ones was kicked and shoved around. "Get out of bed, you sleepyheads, get you a bite to eat. Factory whistles calling you, there's no more time to sleep. Our children, they grew up unlearned, they never went to school. to read and write, they learned to spin and spoon. Many times I close my eyes and see that picture still.
These children, like the immigrants Hine had seen at Ellis Island and in Pittsburgh, were caught up in the transformation of America. From the agrarian frontier society of Hine's youth, it was becoming a mature industrial state with all the pains and brutal waste.
And the result of a few years of this incessant grind, what can it be but physical degeneration and mental atrophy? The human being degraded into a machine, and a poor machine at that.
He photographed children, wherever he could find them, who were working. He was like a scientist who made a list of various occupations in which children were involved, and then began to document those conditions. A child who could work for 10, 20, 30 cents a day, for 12, 14 hours a day, was a natural subject for exploitation. They couldn't complain, they couldn't carry on, there was nothing they could do, except suffer. Hine was a magician where children were concerned. With a smile, a few kind words, the touch of his hand, they knew instinctively that he was a friend and ally, someone who's there to protect them and not to do them any harm. I once asked him why his kids were so beautiful, and he said, "I only photograph beautiful children." But he was kidding me. That's really not what he meant. What he meant was that the love he felt for them, the sense of rapport that was established, allowed them to respond. They revealed to the camera the essence of their being. The work they did demeaned them. The work they did destroy them. And Hine was fighting that.